Hey everyone, J-Rob Plays here, and today I'm bringing you a quick video just talking about the new controversy going on in Calamity Ops. Seems to be a couple every week, and in this case it's going to be about the pit and the way that the pit was being run. Now, as I talk about the exploits that were being used this week, or I mean, they really weren't exploits, they're really speedrun skips, right? But in the end, I believe now we're seeing a line that NetEase is making on what is a speedrun skip and what is an exploit. We don't know if they're going to start to be a little more heavy-handed with this going forward, and I don't actually know what happened to the players at the top of the list right now. Sid, Zayam, and Kill are at the top of the list, and they weren't originally. There was a lot of people above them. They were like somewhere middle of the pack. And so I think what happened is everybody that used the skip, which I'll be playing little snippets of in the background as I talk about what it was, from a YouTuber named the Corrupt Royal. So shout out to the Corrupt Royal. He actually got a video out pretty early on talking about the skip. Originally, I first saw it on Zombie's video. There was somebody in the comments who mentioned the skip and posted a short, but the Corrupt Royal kind of talks through it in his video. So if you want to see what it was and how they were getting the 400,000 plus scores fast and easily, really, you can check out his video. Pretty cool video. I don't want to go and rehash it again. I'm not going to have my own personal footage, so that's going to be where you'll see in the background as I'm talking about it, and I'll credit him in the corner for people who are just kind of glancing. Going back to the topic at hand, in this case, the reason why Sid, Zayam, and Kill are now at the top of the leaderboard is because they probably did this 393,000 run with very little skips, if none. This is probably a legit run, just maybe using the unstucks. And I did my run, for example, that I have right now is 89th place with no unstucks, legit, and through matchmaking. So it wasn't even like a perfect run. We didn't have any communication. We were just going hard at it. It was me on my Wolf, a Helhest, and an Estella. So we weren't even like the double kneeing and a Helhest combination, and still got the 274, 680. I want to give a shout out to the team that helped me with that. It's BTG and Charmed. These are the two that helped me. So if you're watching this video, really cool run. Sorry I couldn't run anymore that evening. I was pretty much tired already when we started doing the run, but we got that run in. I just wanted to test to see if you do get into the Overseer rank, which we did. I actually was able to go from the Master 2 into the Overseer with that run, since it was early in the week. If you place, could you claim these rank rewards that have the 23 days left on them? And even if I didn't, for whatever reason, get to play with my other team and we got knocked back down into Master 2, I would still get these rewards during the cycle. And that was my main thing, right? It's everybody's main thing. You want to get your main rewards. You want to make sure that you're getting as high as possible. Obviously, if you're in the Master 2, you're looking at around 6 if you're staying in it, and 7 in the Overseer, and I want to get that extra 1. So that's why I do a little bit of these speed runs. And again, I tend to do them legit first, and then if I get all the way down to the last day or two and we're just not close, at that point it's time to fight fire with fire, right? I'm not one to take the high road all the time and say that I'm better than everybody else. Like, if somebody's doing something to get an advantage and the developer is not punishing it, I'm going to fight fire with fire. I'm going to try it out. I may make a video on it to help other people try it out. That's pretty much the situation that the Corrupt Royal found himself in, because he was doing the skips that everybody was doing, and he was able to get the high score, made a video about it, talked about it, and it just so happens that this time around the devs did something about it. It looks like they did exactly what they did with the Sparrow Racing. So if you're not familiar with the Sparrow Racing event right now that we have going on, there's a leaderboard, and in week 1 we were doing a fast map where you could get, you know, roughly a 2-minute and 10-second time, legit, somewhere in that range. But of course you have to have a specific speeder, and so for those interested, when it comes to the Sparrow Racing, this is the speeder here. It's a Mythic Sparrow, and that Mythic Sparrow has the top speed. The only non-Mythic Sparrow that has a top speed is this one here that you see with Dion at number 5. And so people, what they were doing at the time was they were actually completing one lap really fast, and then they were turning around as they just passed the finish line and falling off the map. And when it would fall off the map at that point, it would kill you and then put your orb right in front of the finish line. You would then respawn and go across the finish line, and the game would recognize that as a second lap. And so people were getting like 1-minute times at that point. And so the whole leaderboard was just screwed up. There was no fixing it at that point. What they had to do was they had to cut everybody off at a certain point, and they happened to pick 2 minutes. The problem with that was that anybody that had a 2-minute run from doing the exploit was pretty much stuck there for the most part. If they were slow, but at that point it ended up helping them, because 2 minutes was close to, you know, quote unquote close to the 2:10 that a legit run could roughly be with the high-end Sparrow. And so those people got to keep their ill-gotten gains, but at least everybody that was above that and like really digging in to try to get the lower lower times got removed. Even in this lap, there was somebody with a lower score, like a 1.5 minutes. That person got removed. So this signals to me that the developers are much different than Bungie. They may be a little bit slow in their process, and I don't know if it's just because they're an Eastern company and they have a much different hierarchy, and they may not be as agile when it comes to making changes in the game. It may have to go through more levels of control before something actually makes it into the game, which is why they may be a little bit slow. But it does show they have a willingness and a desire to make things fair, especially because their game currently is designed as kind of a leaderboard fest. It's designed for the speedrunners, for the junkies that want to have their, high number next to their name and their imaginary titles, the ones that get all bad of shape if the imaginary titles disappear, those kind of players. And if you have that environment, and those are going to be your whales, people that dump a bunch of money into these characters that try to be on those leaderboards, because that's basically what there is to achieve at the end game right now, then you can't have those players then be cheated out of that and then forced to cheat themselves and expect the game to sustain long term. So it is a good move. I do appreciate the change. I wonder if, though, it's the same thing again, like I'm mentioning, and the reason why I mentioned this is because I think what they did is they just said, okay, we're going to come into these leaderboards and we're just going to cut everybody off at 400,000. Anybody that was like at 395, 400,000, we're just going to cut off, and that would just happen to be right above where Sid's and Kill ran. And these guys are good, so I don't think that these guys were doing the skip exploit and were just slow. If these guys were doing that skip exploit, they would be near the top, close to 500,000. So I think we'll see when they end up posting their run that they ended up just zooming through really hard, doing the normal start, and then using the unstuck at 2 different points in the map to try to sling your characters forward and then pull from there. And they were just 2-manning, 3-man stuff like they usually do when it's on the harder stuff. And that's how they got the 393 score. They got the boss kill probably like a 1.8. I haven't seen the video yet, but that's just what I assume to get this score would take. And of course, that's going to be the goal. That's what everybody's going to be shooting for throughout the week, is like a 390 score so that you remain in the overseer. And we'll see again how they handle the people who were removed. I don't know. I haven't heard anything as far as like in our creator chat or any of the social medias popped up where somebody said I got removed and my count is banned. I don't think they've done that. I think all they did was just what they did with the Sparrow Racing. I don't think they banned anybody for it because it's something that was in game, so it's not technically cheating, quote unquote cheating. I think they just removed the ill-gotten gains that they, at least they tried to, and then they let them go and do it normal. And those people will then go back through and do it normally and get whatever score they get throughout the week. Still have 9 whole days, 10 if you're counting the rest of today, which is the 13th, the day this video is being recorded on. And so just to reiterate, it is a good move for them to make this change. It signals to people that if you do find some type of an exploit, just be prepared to have your run removed. And if they continue to do this, there may be something in the patch notes, so pay attention on the Twid Rising video that I put out on Thursday, if we have patch notes this Thursday talking about the patch. And I just double checked right now to see if there was a current notice in the game, and there isn't a current notice in the game. So that's the drama right now. And now that we've kind of covered my opinion on it and the situation, I just want to again reiterate what you were seeing as I kind of put some of this information in the background so you can see some of the skips that were going on. Players were jumping up a pole in the very beginning, jumping over the wall and clearing all the way up to the server room, and then they were having somebody go back on a character that could heal themselves, stand at the door, let them get everything low in the server room that has shields, and then once they did that, then they would start the encounters, clear the server room really fast, move past that, still do the unstuck skip that's past that, and then they would from there finish the strike, and the boss would be killed like at 5 or something crazy, some high multiplier. And that's why the score was so high, because the boss was being melted rather quickly. Sometimes they could continue to cook the boss health and get it down to 1 HP while the little smaller servitors popped up. They would clear the servitors and then just breathe on the boss, and that was it, and they would get their time. And of course, because they had that additional advantage of being early in the clock, they could clear out more ads, get additional points, and then take out the boss like with a sliver of that multiplier, whatever they were on, active still. And that again was how they got the 400,000 point score and above. So it's an interesting controversy because there's a lot of sides, and what strikes me a lot of the times with people who have complaints about things like this, who are on the side of this is a bad thing, is usually the people that were taking advantage of it, right? And those people are not necessarily self-aware of the fact, or just don't care that they're like the 0.01% of a game's population normally. Like the people in this top 100, let's say mathematically across all platforms, let's say we've got 400,000 players, just to be generous, and you're looking at 100 players with 4 servers, and you're spreading that out across the 400,000 player population, you're 0.001%. And that's if it's at evenly the 400. I just wanted to make it something easy to see so you can understand how infinitesimally small the affected player base is of something like this. And it's not even that, it's even smaller than that, because it's only what, maybe 30 or 40 people that got removed at the top of the list. Those players have the right to be upset. They have the right to have their opinion. It's just a matter of be aware of your standing in the larger scheme of things and the health of the game, right? Again, some people just don't care. A lot of these guys at the top have egos. You know, they get their feelings hurt easily, and they like to defend their positions, and it's fine. Like, I don't mind jousting. I don't mind a verbal joust as long as it stays relatively respectful, right? You get disrespectful, we can get disrespectful right back. It's not a problem. But my point is just to appeal to those players who continue to play the game, and they're good for the game because they set a goal for people. Like, those players become the goal at the end. You want to be able to beat or match these players. The appeal that I would make to them is to just take it on the chin and say, whatever, it is what it is. I mean, I feel like that's like a speedrunning thing, right? Speedrunning things are, you break the game, the developers fix the game, they remove what you were doing, and then you find another way to break the game. Like, that's kind of the fun of it, right? It's like this skirting the line, and as long as you're not getting banned and you're not losing money on your account or anything like that, yes, it's annoying, yes, it's a problem, yes, you wasted runs, but that's all you'd waste, is just time and runs, and you had fun doing it, hopefully, in the process with your friends too, right? Because you have to have 2 other friends to do this. So that's my position on it. I'm okay with it. I'm cool with it. If it were me and I got my run removed, I would just go back and do it later and do it legit, and, you know, only use what's allowed, what's currently in bounds. The current consensus is the unskips are currently still in bounds until the developers say otherwise, or they just remove the ability to get unstuck in the game during a Calamity Ops, which would kind of suck, because if you had a player get stuck, then you have to have the other 2 players run forward and pull them, or you just waste the run. But then the alternative is, you know, you have everybody using unstuck to get 2 or 3 minutes shaved off their run. So either way, sacrifice has to be made either way. Either you sacrifice a little bit of the integrity of the map that you designed by the players using the unstuck to just skip large areas, traversal areas, or you sacrifice the integrity of the game in a sense that whenever you use an attempt, you're guaranteed to get a proper attempt, and having you stuck on a wall because of a poor code that allows you to get through a box or something, and you get stuck under a box because you're teleporting around with your abilities, and a lot of movement characters do that, then you have that other side of things where your character is now forcibly stopped and you didn't really do anything that you would have known to get them stuck, and so you're still hurt in that way. It's again one of those changes that you make for the greater good of the health of the game, and you kind of just take it on the chin if you understand that, and you're like, whatever, I got stuck, next run, right on to the next run. And right now, the way that it's designed, somebody can actually leave the run, 1 person can be designated to leave the run, and it doesn't affect the other 2 characters. It works similar to how Trials of Osiris worked, where you would have somebody leave the match to do a loss protect whenever you got up against a cheater or something like that. People on the high end would do that, and then that would let the other 2 players, the carry and the other person, you know, carrying that person, would then leave and not get a loss on the card, and then they could queue back up and hopefully not get a cheater again. And that's similar to how you're doing that here. You basically loss protect by having only 1 player lose a run, and then you have somebody designated to leave next, and to leave next if your runs don't go well enough, or if you happen to have an instance like that where you're stuck and your run is ruined at that point. That way you get 3 attempts in with 1 attempt across your team. Hopefully I described that appropriately. But again, the focus of this video was to discuss the controversy at large and compare NetEase to Bungie, and how NetEase has done a much better job at taking the larger population's feedback and immediately applying it and signaling to the players that are doing these out of bounds things or these skips, hey, be careful, this may change in the future, and maybe that discourages some of that. I think more likely what's going to happen is less people are going to post their video. We're not going to actually have those skips available. They're just going to get their really high score, and everybody's going to be wondering how they're doing it. And then maybe 1 or 2 people will leak it toward the end of the week. And then the people who have the high score will then post their #1 score video the next week, like I mentioned before, that people used to do, which people have gotten a lot better at posting their score right away to show that they're not afraid of people seeing how they're doing things, which is really good. Like Zombie is another person to call out, who has posted videos early and not waited until the end of the week. I don't remember if Sid posted his video early or not, but Sid tends to post a lot of his Expanse stuff. So Sid, you can see his skill, and you can see that he's, for the most part, legit. And these teams at the top are, for the most part, legit usually. But again, when you have these exploits, 1 person does it, and so you have to do it, and then it's just cascading effect. You know, it's this knock-on effect that everybody else behind them has to do it, and so then it turns into turns into teams at the last day kind of jousting for position over 50 points or 100 points or 200 points, you know, one extra ad killed early on, you know, one extra skip step that you did just right, you know, you happen to get the boss pushed into a phase early enough and you also got the ads. Like, that is the difference between staying in your unchanged or promotion zone or falling into the relegation zone and having to start over with a different strike. Also, too, since it's the end of the video, I do want to call out to my new subscribers. I really do appreciate all my new subscribers that have seen some of the Destiny Rising content. I also still get new subscribers from my Destiny 2 content. I have plenty of guides there and also the Guardian Ranks videos, and I still am going to make content for Destiny 2. I'm just waiting on the updates to come through. There will be some changes coming up next week that I'll probably hop into and check out and see what the grind feels like there. I'm almost 500 on my character before I kind of got distracted with a lot of the Destiny Rising stuff. And speaking of Destiny Rising, I also have a Rossi video coming out. Right now, there's not a lot of people working Rossi right now. People are starting to get him and his score up, so you can see that there is actually like a desire for people to use Rossi, and I actually like his kit. Like I said, my Rossi is no slouch right now. He's at 62,690, so I'm going to take him through the Expanse, but not the high-end Expanse, just the regular one. I think it's called the Hinterland. Yeah, the Hinterland, because the Hinterland, you can see it's 58,900, 60,000, 61, and 62,100. And so I'll run through that, and then while I have that experience, plus doing his story, plus I've actually run him through some challenge mode for the legendary campaign that I'll have as well, that you can see, and just kind of go over how I feel he is in the meta, and if it's worth it for you guys, if you do happen to get him on a pool when you're trying to get Helhest, to even put any kind of resources into him. So until the next video, I'll see everyone in the next one.